So welcome to all of you to another series of webinars from one of our very wonderful inner Shift coaches. And today we have Anubha Kathuria Belani. Anubha, right? As she would like to call herself a previous lifetime potter, I would like to start with, and still carrying on pottery. So she has, used pottery to carve and sculpt the earth. And then she moved on to do pottery with the mind of the people so that she can sculpt the mind of the people and help them to connect to their own selves. So she's become a master practitioner of NLP. She's become an inner shift coach and what she would like to call herself as a happiness and a values coach. And she's working with teens and the parents. I think one of the best areas if you can where you can help the children to be much better human beings, and that's what she's doing. And she's also a pranic healer, and she is also working on the emotional quotient and the values, which are her favorite topics. In her previous lifetime, as she would like to call herself, she was into corporate communication, content management, something to do with Ritu Kumar, and she was into encyclopedia. But now an inner shift coach and helping people to connect to their own selves better. Very wonderful human being, always smiling, always laughing, and I think spreading love. So, Anubha, over to you. We'll have a presentation for 35 minutes. And then we have Prosperity who will be taking up the questions. So kindly put your questions in the chat box, which Prosperity will take up. And then Anubha will like to answer. So our topic for today is gracefully exiting out of difficult emotions. Very, very well, defined topic, Anubha, I would say, and what we need right now, how to exit out of the emotions that is happening right now, right? Before COVID was different, and now after COVID and in the COVID is going to be different. So all the best to you. Yes, let's start.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for such an illustrious introduction. Though, if I would just like to put it, I'm just a student of life, and you, sir, and Prosperity have been my very cherished teachers. And so much of what I am going to be saying here today is, of course, I've learned at Alpha Stars. So, I invite everybody and I thank all my peer coaches also to come here and be a part of it. I am not able to see the list of participants, but you know who you are and you know what you've got to do, right? All good comments after this is over, right? So let's begin. And like I always like to begin, I would love if you guys tell me in the chat box that what are your intentions for this maybe 45 minutes to an hour that we're going to be spending together today. So I'd invite you all to write it in the chat box, please. Prosperity, I cannot see the chat box.
You cannot see the chat box.
Prosperity, you can go ahead and read the answers then.
Yeah, the chat box is open to everyone.
Okay. For some reason, it's not visible to me. But
learn a new life skill.
Okay, now I can see it.
Now you can see it. Okay.
Rakatan, hello. Satnamji, how to get over emotion of anger, learning, coaching, and I myself want to start. Super. Okay. No idea what is it. So curiosity, I would say. To learn immediate shift. Okay. Nita. Okay, great. So it's always great to know the whys, because then the hows just fall in place is what I feel. And so if these are your intentions, I'm sure you're going to be taking from this session. Your takeaways are going to be this and many more. Thank you for sharing. Let's begin at the beginning. But yeah, so let us begin at the beginning. So, what are emotions and how would you describe them? Anybody would like to describe what emotions are? maybe in the chat box.
Controlling one's feelings. Controlling one's feelings.
Everyone, please remain on silent, on mute, please. Okay, and simply write in the chat box because the voice gets, there's a lot of background noise otherwise that we can hear. Okay, so please just write in the chat box.
Okay, it is kind of energy which is changing and dynamic, how you feel towards certain things. Yes, absolutely. And we tend to, actually label some of the emotions as positive and negative because of the way we experience them. For example, if you are feeling very happy or anything, we actually hardly really think about, oh, why am I feeling so happy? We'd never go that, right? But the minute we are in a difficult situation or a difficult stepping into a difficult emotion like hurt or anger or guilt or anything, we start to feel, oh, why is this happening to me? And why am I feeling like this? So the thing is, the first thing that I always say in emotional management coaching and everything is that all emotions are necessary, including our fear, our freeze moments, our flight moments. They are all necessary. All the emotions are necessary. It is only when we remain in flight fear and flight freeze moments that we start to feel most uncomfortable, and a lot of diseases as well set in. So as I see it, it's all the emotions. They are actually like tools. And if I was to just kind of um, say define them, I would say it is the energy in motion. And the thing with energy and being in motion is that it passes, right? So everything that you are feeling today, you may or may not feel the same about the same situation tomorrow, right? So it your emotions, their energy, and it is in motion, and that is the good news. It's the nature of the beast, right? It will pass. What happens is when we get stuck with the emotions of difficult emotions, I'm saying, then we start to stagnate those. It's just like a river flowing, right? Something which is in motion and something that's nature is in to be in motion. If we stop the flow, it's going to start to stagnate, and that is what happens with certain emotions when we stop the flow of emotions. And the best news about both of our thoughts and our emotions is that both are transient. They will pass. They are temporary, right? And emotions, as I also see them, are feedback systems. They provide us with the data of what is, say, right in our life. And in some cases, and actually in most of the situations when we are feeling a difficult emotion, it just is a reflection or a feedback onto that some or one or many of our values may or may not have been compromised, but it could be a boundary, it could be a connection. So mainly it is that. And now, what is the bad news? The bad news about emotions as a feedback system is that it is just a feedback system. It's not our GPS. The minute we start to use difficult emotions as navigation tools to guide our life and act out of those difficult emotions, that's when the problem begins. And we all know that, right? We all know that. We've all had those moments of, we've read it in the news, or road rage. We have all been part of banging the doors and banging the books or screaming and shouting. So we all know that. We all know that when we work out of emotion in the heat of the moment, what happens? Also, there are times, so we all do know about the mind body connect, right? And we keep, and it's the zeitgeist of today, we keep talking about mind body connection, we keep talking about meditation and mindfulness and so many other things that we know and we practice also. And what happens is we are of in this world of duality, we actually of two minds. One is the thinking mind, or the mind that reasons, and one is the emotional mind. And we create this dichotomy between the head and the heart when we start to say to ourselves that we are a logical person, or she or she is an emotional person. I feel it is just, it's just a way of actually suppression of emotions. We are both, and that is connected. So it is part of one paradigm, one system. Not like mind and body are different. They are connected. But what happens when they get disconnected is that we lose our state. So it is really worth reflecting how we are navigating our own lives, how we are moving moment to moment by calling ourselves as emotional or logical or whatever it is. However, the thing with difficult emotions is we need both, right? We need both the minds, the reason as well as the emotional. But what happens is when we going through a difficult emotion, especially, our reason gets hijacked. It's, you can see it in the example of a child who is academically very intelligent, and yet, or maybe in this case of a business scenario, where the child is, or the executive is very intelligent, knows his job, and yet loses his or her state because of the stress. Now I call stress as the cocktail of emotions, like lot of emotions, right? So when they lose the state, they're not able to perform well, they're not able to present well, they're not able to uh, do anything that they would love to do, and they're not able to bring themselves completely and wholly in that situation of, for example, a exam, right? So what happens at that moment, whether it is an outside trigger or it's an inside story, what happens is the amygdala gets hijacked. Amygdala is the seat of passion, you can call it. And I would invite you all, if this really makes you curious, I would invite you all to read the. This has been penned. This name has been given by Daniel Goleman, and I will invite you all to read his book Emotional Intelligence, in which he explains it in much larger detail than I'm going to be doing it here. So, amygdala hijack is, for our purposes of the presentation today, is just when we actually lose it, when the shit so-called hits the ceiling, when we react in the way we don't want to, when we sit after whatever has happened and think to ourselves, oh, but why did I behave like that? And why couldn't I behave like that? That is the amygdala hijack. And so now the question to ask ourselves is, what do we want instead of that reaction? So as I see, I mean, as I see it in myself, and some of the people I have coached, and everybody you speak to, they would like to be resilient. They would like to respond and not react, and they would like to remain in the knowing that in that moment that they did their best, because otherwise you all know that after a difficult emotion, the guilt is yet another emotion that comes up that we have to kind of deal with, right? So so what do we do? So does this mean I do not feel, I suppress my emotions, I brood over it, or I bottle them? No. Feelings, or I live in inauthentically, is a question a lot of people ask me. So when I don't feel my emotions, or if I'm not reacting out of my emotion at that time, what am I supposed to do? Am I supposed to live inauthentically? And I say no. How gracefully you exiting out of the difficult emotions, gracefully experiencing and expressing, is a big part of how do you gracefully exit out of that difficult emotion. So if you suppress, you know that suppression leads to depression, is one of the favorite things for me to say. And feelings will come up whether or not you like it or not, right? So they are to be felt. We have to use all our practices and somatic practices and maybe journaling and whatever it is that you would love to feel that emotion after the heat of the moment is settled. So now, hey, this one. So what happened here? तो करना क्या है, right? एक तरफ से आई एम सेइंग दैट फील द इमोशंस एंड दूसरे तरफ से आई एम सेइंग ग्रेसफुली एग्जिट आउट ऑफ द इमोशंस. सो व्हाट इज इट दैट वी वांट टू डू? क्या करना क्या है, राइट? लाइक वी वांट टू नो द हाउ कैन आई डील विद माय इमोशंस. Isn't that what the topic all about, right? So, and that is what my intention is also. So like I love stories, right? And let me share a little personal experience here. And there's this very beautiful relationship that I have, in which love and hate are equally strong. You know the sibling relationships, right? That's how sibling relationships work. So I have had a couple of fights. We are both loudmouth, and we both have the tendency to speak in the heat of the moment. So one time I decided that for me, the value of this relationship is far more important, and keeping peace in this relationship rather than sulking and then coming back to it, because I mean, you know how brothers are, right? So I can't leave him, no? So without losing all those precious days that I used to lose after this kind of an interaction, I thought, why not? My value is inner peace in this situation and in this relationship, and I would love to only use that to navigate myself when I'm in a heated conversation or in a debate or in an argument or whatever it is when our perspectives are different. So we both started, and it started to become a slightly difficult conversation, and I just let it be. I just let it be. I was very angry. I was hurt. I was going through all the emotions that I usually normally do, but I did not react. And that kind of created a huge shift. For me personally, it was a win, because I really did not explode in terms of when I was presented with that trigger. And so let us see what really happened here. So there was this, when there is this little gap between the amygdala being hijacked and your reaction, when you give that little space between these two events, what happens is a response. And that's the beauty of it, right? It happens in a nanosecond. And I have realized that when I have to remember how I have to behave and how I have to do this and that, I forget that. But the minute I understand that, oops, my biggest value of is inner peace in this relationship, I really quickly come back to the center. So what did I do? I did go off center, but I returned to it faster, and I thought I came out of it more resilient and stronger. I let out my emotions by journaling them. I let out my emotions by talking to somebody who would hold that kind of space for me, and so many other things, making somatic shifts and everything that we do. So this is the value of values for me when you're exiting out of a difficult emotion. And if and it is a non-shifting ground, right? Emotions are shifting, like we spoke about it earlier. Emotions are transient; they will pass. That's their beauty, right? They will come up and they will go away. But values are the non-shifting grounds, or the proverbial North Star, and they point us in a direction where we would love to go, or we would love to hold at that time. And anyway, if you are also to look at this question, that when I have an opinion or when I have a anger outburst, or if I am hurting or going through any difficult emotion, what is it that and I react in the way that I am programmed to react, what happens then? Most of the times, what happens is that it is a reflection more on me rather than the situation. It is the opinion, my opinion is a reflection of me rather than the thing that I am opinionating on, right? So these are some of the questions that I invite each one of you to really reflect on. Has you know, closing doors show up big emotions? Has it ever worked for you? Has it really ever worked for anyone? And what does it really do? How does it impact your professional life? How does it impact your personal life? And how does it matter in your relationships when we as a couple fight, or we as okay, so as a conscious parenting coach also, so if we start to correct the child before connecting with the child, really, what is it that we are doing? Compromising on the value, not knowing the value. The thing is that intention is pure. The intention is to give our children the best, and yet we swerve and do so many other things just to prove our intention. Our actions are sometimes not aligned with that. So well, these are the questions you can use to reflect. And so what happens, you know, when personally you have integrated this understanding in yourself? Now what happens? You expand, right? That's the idea of growth, is expansion, and expansion is limitless. And as coaches, and I would like to invite you to see that this is what is happening in our coaching spaces. We we are working hard with our clients sometimes, and we connect them with the importance of, you know, what is important about their goal and how is it important to them, and what will happen if they do it. And they in that sacred space, they come to when they come to us, they have a coaching conversation, they are very very motivated, but what happens, and inspired also, right? And what happens when they go out between an insight and an habit, life happens, right? They say, oh, and then what do we do? Our job as a coach becomes tougher, and we have to keep reminding them of their goals. We have to keep reminding them of their promises, and oh, you had to do this, but you have not done that, and so on and so forth. Our job increases as a coach, right? And what happens when we connect the same goal, the same insight, the same everything that we are doing to values? This happens. It changes the way they start minding themselves. They can remind themselves. For example, like I just told you my own example of keeping the inner peace between me and my brother. I hope he's not watching it. So between me and him, above, over and above our little tips that I would like to call it right now. So what changes? What changes when we connect them to the values? What changes for the coach and what changes for the client? Let's see both. So talking about the client first, in my experience, it has been a game changer. And it has not been a game changer just for me, but for my clients also. They remember in that split second between the hijack and the information going to your neocortex that they have to respond and not react. Emotions are data, not GPS. They start to come alive, and they start to live their values, not just talk about them. And then what happens again in their own lives, just like in mine, in their own lives, or people who are following a value led path, what happens is we go from context, specific context that we are coaching them on, and we have connected them to a particular value that is their own value. Expansion happens. And that is what is growth, and that is what creates the best innermost shift, right? because from one context, then they can apply it to many contexts. From behavior and habits, it becomes a way of life. It becomes their beingness. And when it becomes their beingness, they start to live choices. They will behave in that manner because beingness is, if they are being kind, they will not have to do kind, they will be kind. And they will, and doing will come definitely. I'm not saying doing will not come, but they will not have to remind themselves, right? And that is what the beauty of values is. So this is the before and ever after. Okay, so it's not just limited to the after, but it is the ever after. I love the Donald Duck, by the way. And let's talk about the coach now after having spoken about the clients, what it does. So I feel, in my personal opinion, that the purpose of a coach is that of an awakener, and we live our highest value when we have pointed in the direction of the coach's values, and we have understood and we have trained them to be self-sufficient. Isn't that what self-empowerment all about? And to me, my success barometer, how I really feel that I have been successful in a coaching conversation, is when the client does not need me anymore, when they have become self-reliant, Atmanirbhar. So walking your why. Now, how can you walk your why? So if you remember, we had set the intention in the beginning of the session, and this is what happens when we know that we are getting into a conversation, we are getting into a meeting, we are getting into something with complete intention. And if it is coupled with your values and your behaviors, I don't see how you can walk off your path. Okay, so well, that's it. Sorry. So well, that is it, and yeah. So this is the last one, and I invite you all to kind of now, having seen how we walk our whys, that reflect on what are your takeaways. I can't put it on the slideshow because it's going back to the first one. So I invite you all to tell me if how this presentation, this conversation has enriched you. What has it done for you? Maybe you can write it on the chat. If it is in alignment with your intentions, and I hope so.
And the was very right. Great, Anubha, thank you so much for the insights on gracefully exiting out of your emotions. I think the major takeaway I would say has been that when we are gracefully exiting out of our emotions, it's more important to connect it with our values. And once we connect it to our values and we understand what is behind those emotions and we pause, then it actually makes a difference, right? So one of the questions that I got was, when you talked about value expansion happens, can you share an example for it?
So how I like to see it is, for example, my inner peace in that relationship was my value over any kind of stimuli or triggering conversations. And we all do have difficult conversations, right? Being part of the same family, being having different opinions on so many things, we have difficult conversations, not just with one person but with many people, right? So if I have practiced it with one person, and I have realized that my value with my closest relative or my relation or my intimate relationship is inner peace, how do I expand it? How do I bring it in with a friend? With a friend who has a difference of opinion, with a boss who has a difference of opinion, with a subordinate who has a difference of opinion, and with my child who has a difference of opinion. there we try to use our positional advantage. But what if that is the I'm not saying be inauthentic. I'm not saying peace means that you are flowing as the people are allowing, letting you flow. Of course emotions are dictated, but I can see this is what I'm putting. If I have a difference of opinion, that means I'm not seeing the other person's opinion. This is one. And now comes hate, then comes anger, then comes irritation. And with this, I am seeing and looking at the situation, and what am I seeing? Oh my God, right? There's so many filters, so many glasses that I have on my eyes when I'm reacting like that. But if I remove all of this, when I have experienced my emotion, I have settled down in the knowing that okay, inner peace is my thing, but it does not mean that I don't need to voice my opinion. Then I go to that child, that brother, that relative, that boss, later stage, and then I respond. And after having removed all those filters at that particular point, so it leads to better nurtured and nourished relationships rather than spoiling the relationship in the heat of the moment, throwing the books and throwing this and that. It never worked for it.
Absolutely, absolutely. So I think that it's important to keep the value in front and then respond, or even take pause before responding, rather than just saying whatever is coming to the mind, and that's just, going on ranting and foiling the relationship instead of the emotions. Like, that's very beautifully explained when you said the filters is one on top of the other. Thank you so much for that. So there is another person who is asking, amygdala needs a few seconds to relax. How do we remind ourselves of that important pause to respond in an emotionally challenged situation?
So that's what I was trying to explain in my situation. I will take only my situation with my brother or my son or my husband or whatever it is. My own personal experiences. That the minute it is, when somebody is shouting and fighting and doing whatever that they are doing with me, just before that there definitely is a pause there. That I mean, you listen to them and then you respond. Even when you are not listening and you are going to shout, even once when you have shouted, the minute you remind yourself about your own values, that's when you get centered. That's when you realize, oh, this fight is not worth it. However, what my opinion is on this particular issue, I can always come back to it. For me, that has worked prosperity. And always reminding myself nothing else has worked. I have tried to behave in a certain manner. I have tried to make certain somatic shifts in that heat of the moment, but they have not worked as well as reminder of the value in that moment. And most of us, I mean, there are a few surprises when we get into a difficult conversations, but most of us actually do know pre-hand that it's going to be a difficult conversation. Then aligning yourself with your own values, sitting with yourself, aligning yourself with your own values in each area of your life really, really works. Really works.
I think we can say that wherever we have a difficult relation, or wherever we are having a friction in a relationship, we can actually sit down and work on the values that is very important to us. And then even in the heat of the moment, just we have to practice reminding ourselves of that value over and over again before it just comes flowing to us, right? So,
yeah, and that's what expansion will do, right? It will become your beingness. So I hope I have answered to your satisfaction.
I think so. Whoever's asked the question has got the satisfied answer. Right? There's another question, which is, what are your views on objective depersonalizing effect?
It sounds too complicated. Objective depersonalizing effect. Meditation does that, right? When you are meditating or you are mindful of your own self. In fact, so many times we are not even mindful of. We are so much in the head and in our stories that we are not mindful of what is happening with our values, with our belief systems, with our emotions, and so many other things. I don't. So when you meditate or when you practice these things, you tend to see yourself as, you externalize your own self and then see yourself, right? So there is this, you are seeing yourself. So that is what I think objectifies it. And what was the other word? Very depersonalized, and that's where it gets depersonalized as well. So, like once I'll just take a quick example of CD ma'am. Once I told CD ma'am that ma'am, I find talking to people very difficult when they say no to me, or if I'm expecting that somebody is going to say no to me, I would rather not take my proposal to her. And you know what she told me has really stuck with me, and that was that she says, you know what, they are saying no to your proposal and not a no to you, and not no to Anubha. That is exactly how she said it. So that has helped me depersonalize a lot of things and objectifying them as well.
Absolutely, absolutely great. When we do tend to take a lot of things very personally, every proposal, every thought, we take it so personally, and it becomes like, I have done this, I have been rejected. So depersonalizing it becomes very, very important. And like you said, mindfulness or meditation does help us. And Siri ma'am, of course, gives great advices all the time.
And you know what, prosperity, this also filtered down, like I said, expansion. It is not just in a sales call, or, when I'm offering my proposal to any, I realized I was getting personal about बैंगन का भरता. अरे मैंने बैंगन का भरता बनाया है and shoving it in my son's mouth. मैंने बनाया है. अरे यार, excuse me. So scary.
खाना नहीं खाना, तुम्हें खाना पड़ेगा क्योंकि मैंने बनाया है.
So it's okay. It's all right. It just means that he doesn't want it at that moment. It's not a rejection of me. And really, if we look at it in our relationships, in our day-to-day, moment-to-moment life, these kind of awareness and insights really light us up.
Absolutely, absolutely. I think so much true. And I think Nitin has a lot of questions for you. So this one more from him. Says, Anubha, I agree with alignment of our values and purpose. How about reminding ourselves in advance of our purpose in a potentially emotional situation?
It's not just, Nitin, thank you for many questions. It also brings in a lot of clarity in me when I'm answering questions, and I hope I'm able to satisfy your curiosity. The thing is, it's not just reminding, it's practicing. So when again, it is about the expansion. When you practice it in safe spaces with small steps, you can practice it in a bigger place. And then, because it has become so much a part of you, you don't even have to remind yourself. You will just be. You will be just living your purpose. You will be just walking your talk. You'll be just walking your why and your values. So so I'll say another thing that Sat sir always says whenever we talk about values is that it may not be easy living your values, but it's definitely worth it. And I think that at the end of the day is what actually gets us back to our innate inner peace.
Absolutely. That's the one thing that you did say even during the workshop. Is it worth it? Is something that really captures your mind, and how am I actually living it? So the two sentences really complete how you're actually living the values which you're saying that you have.
Yes.
How does one handle no when it is coming from an insecure senior?
Sorry, how does one
handle a no when it is coming from an insecure senior?
From an insecure senior?
Yes. The boss,
See, if it is coming from whoever, I mean, I would not judge them insecure or not. And if that is, the taking of it is coming from inside of you. That has got nothing to do with any outside experience. How you are taking it is an inside job. Of course, you have to have a difficult conversation. Of course, you may have to follow the path of being authentic, but how are you actually taking it? If you are comfortable with giving and receiving a no, it is yet another game changer.
So I think what he's asking is, I mean, if that is coming in the way of progress of work,
Prosperity, could you repeat it?
What does the person do if it's coming in the way of progress of work?
What does the person do? Then the person, see, in a specific situation, it is, I will come from my own set of beliefs and everything. In a specific situation, I suggest take coaching and understand what is best for you, because I will definitely just have my own filters for this, right?
Absolutely. I think I too agree that for each and every individual, the situation could be so much different. And if the person is open to taking coaching, the answer will actually come from within. The topic that we're actually talking about is really about maintaining your own emotional state and gracefully just exiting out of feeling bad emotions. So yeah, feeling bad emotions will any which way is not lead to any progress of work. So maintain the state, and then what needs to be done next, like Anubha said, probably take coaching from her. Okay. Any more questions anyone has? Okay, so over to you, Siri ma'am. I think Anubha has answered all the questions to this satisfaction.
Oh, wow,
Thank
I'm
you.
feeling so good answering all the questions like a little student. Huh? Thank you everyone. Thank you
Thank
everyone
you
for asking.
so much, Anubha. I think it was a wonderful, wonderful session. You have really put your thoughts together. And I think it's all about, one thing what just triggers my mind is if in childhood times our parents would have taught that if there were two siblings or even if there was one child, they would have accepted the child as expressing the emotions and not kind of labeled the child with that emotion, and would have kind of taught saying that, okay, this is your emotion you're feeling. You're angry. Okay, feel your anger. It's good. But you're not anger. After some time, it's over. If you're happy, that's another emotion that you're feeling of happiness. And if our parents would have really known not to label, probably would have been, much easier to handle our emotional states. And we would have really experienced each emotional state as an emotional state, right? And not put it as a label to the person. But unfortunately, no, nothing against parents, because they probably did not know, because nobody has ever taught them how to bring the child up again. So for the people who have young kids, that's my thought process. If you just accept the children and kind of when they're growing, not label them. If they're angry, let them be angry fully. So let them experience that emotion fully. And then if they're really happy, let them like feel that emotion fully, absolutely. And I think that's one of the things which what you rightly pointed out, that amygdala, if I'm rightly pronouncing it, is a part of the brain which helps you to understand the emotions, and also they help you to perceive what others are feeling. So I think if we can allow the our children to be who they are, it's much easier when you grow up to really understand your own emotional state and the others. And very well said, Anubha. I think if you include the values part of it, I think if you really understand deep down that what is the value that you hold in a relationship, I think you can really, I would say, be flexible in responding and even reacting to that situation. Somebody in your mind, if you hold up to a level of an epitome of somebody whom you cannot react to, like I would say, like my spiritual teacher, when I was with him for so many years, there was never a time, even if we scolded, we felt bad because we had held him to that position, because the value was so much bigger than the kind of reaction and responses or even the scolding. We would wait for his rather scolding, that when would he scold, when would we listen to his that roaring voice. It was like that. So if in somebody asked a question, what do you do in the heat of that moment when you're having an emotion? So obviously, I think it's not at that moment, but yes, if you later on, somebody who's really important to in your life, and once you take a decision that this person has this much value for me, I think your emotions you'll be able to much more hold, and you'll be able to not react but respond in those particular situations. That's what my thought process is, and that's what has been my learning. Though we are not all perfect, yet striving to move towards that perfection. And emotions are one thing we have to feel, because certain things sometimes are not in your control. And it's okay to shout, and it's okay to hit the doors, and it's okay to break the place, though we do not do it many times. At least, I don't know, the women don't, thinking how expensive it is, you don't do that. Right? So you will hold the things there. But I think overall, I think it's very well said, Anubha. Really appreciate. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for all the participants being there, always our coaches and some more people who are yet to become coaches or wanting to hear so much from our coaches. I think it's been a wonderful journey. Thank you, Prosperity. It's been a wonderful initiative. We've been trying to work together. And once again, in the end, I always request people, please try and send the links to as many people as you can. They are very good learning sessions. They trigger your mind, they trigger your thoughts, something sometimes we don't even think about it, and it's a triggering process. So please share it on the social media, your platforms, your friends and family, so that we can have more and more people joining in. So thank you once again, Anubha. God bless you. And
Thank you,
God
ma'am.
bless all of you.
Thank
Take
you.
care
Thank
and
you,
be safe.
everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.